SpaceX Starship. This colossal spacecraft designed for efficiency, reusability, and cheap access to space has been at the forefront of discussions surrounding the future of space exploration for quite some time. The real question isn't if Starship will be the game changer it's projected to be. I think it's safe to say that it will be. However, when it comes to how low prices could go and how quickly these reduced prices would catapult the industry, the story becomes a bit more complex than what we see on the surface, and so this video aims to dissect this topic and shed some light on the different aspects at play. So to begin with, one of Starship's biggest promises is its potential to drastically lower launch costs, thereby opening up a sea of new opportunities in space exploration and commercialization. However, not everybody is quite convinced that this drop in cost will automatically trigger a surge, or what we might call hypergrowth, in the space sector. I recently came across a number of articles that discussed the topics of demand and launch costs once Starship is operational, and I think they are very insightful and worth distilling and sharing with you all. So to appreciate the full magnitude of what Starship proposes to do, it's vital to consider the economic implications. The SLS program is projected to rack up costs amounting to a staggering $93 billion by 2025, with each launch ringing up a bill of $2.2 billion. On the other hand, Starship takes a more fiscally sustainable route, with launches projected to initially cost $100 million, a figure that is expected to decrease further as the vehicle becomes more streamlined and efficient. Also bear in mind that when I talk about $100 million per launch, I'm not considering the construction and development of all the infrastructure needed to make the whole Starship program possible, which is already in the order of billions of dollars. Now, to further put things into perspective, let's travel back in time to Falcon 9's first flight in 2009. Since then, SpaceX has managed to slash the cost per launch from $10,000 per kilogram down to roughly $2,500. Starship aims to continue this trend, promising a 40% reduction in cost per kilogram, which would bring the price down to not even $1,000 per kilogram. Elon Musk himself has optimistically projected Starship launch prices to plummet as low as $10 million per launch, which is a tenth of the original projected price, within a 2 to 3 year time frame, which, even if we drag it into a perhaps more realistic 10-year time frame, still would be an incredible pace of cost reduction. In a world powered by Starship, we could visibly witness anything from launching new commercial space stations into space, consistent regular visits to the moon and back, or even the launch of telescopes larger and more sensitive than the ones we currently have operating. The scope of possibilities is greatly amplified, and it is an enticing vision of the future that Starship could make possible. Yet it is worth asking, will the reduced launch costs provided by Starship cause a sudden surge in space-related activities, even sooner than expected? Many believe this could be the case, and I also find it difficult myself to resist the hype train, because consider the possibility of landing 50 tons of hardware on the moon at a total cost of, say, $40 million using Starship. That would be a revolutionary shift to how we approach space exploration. Suddenly it becomes a lot easier and cheaper to take heavy payloads and machinery into space and onto other celestial bodies. However, I think it is also important to remember that merely making space travel more affordable may not necessarily drive the sudden growth we want to see happen. There also needs to be demand, and to quote planetary scientist Dr. Phil Metzger, one of the main problems is that it is hard to find near-term or even mid-term business cases that justify the extra transportation cost, the harsh environment, and the logistical challenges of doing things in space. The primary consumers of launch services right now are governments and a small number of large satellite operators. In the case of SpaceX, launches have skyrocketed, especially in the last 3 to 4 years, but most of them have been their own Starlink launches. So with this in mind, it is not hard to imagine that a significant drop in launch prices may not necessarily lead to an immediate surge in demand. It may happen, but it could also very well be the case that it just takes longer. Industries often require time to adapt, develop, and capitalize on new technology, a transition that may be slow. Another point to consider is the opportunity cost. In an article published about a week ago, economist Akil Rao argues that SpaceX can utilize Starship slots to launch either its own Starlink satellites or external customer payloads. Allocating a slot for one inherently means giving up the potential revenues from the other. This means that each Starlink satellite not launched or whose launch date has been postponed equates to foregone profits for SpaceX, so they would in theory charge as much for that slot as they would have theoretically made out of launching an extra Starlink satellite instead. Although this probably would only be the case if Starlink production became so massive that SpaceX wouldn't have enough vehicles ready to launch all the satellites that are being produced. I think that probably won't be the case, meaning there will be more vehicles or at least slots available than Starlink satellites to fill those slots or vehicles. But to be clear, even if SpaceX does not push the prices as low as they could, which they absolutely do not have to, reducing the cost per kilogram to say $1,000 would already be an incredible accomplishment and open the door to many new businesses. Shifting our gaze beyond economic considerations, another intriguing angle to consider is the potential of Starship to enable interplanetary travel. It is easy to imagine a world where reduced launch costs could turn the dream of a multi-planetary life into reality, yet the intricacies of human colonization go far beyond merely getting to another planet. We are faced with numerous hurdles in human biology, psychology, and the practicalities of creating sustainable supply chains, among many other issues that are yet to be surmounted. Nonetheless, I believe sooner or later humanity will overcome these hurdles as long as the laws of physics allow for it. There is also the robotics revolution happening right now together with AI, which will be of great help for doing pretty much anything in space. We will have advanced robots building infrastructures for us on the moon and in orbit, which will also save us time, money, and make the whole thing much safer for astronauts. So only time will tell how fast SpaceX Starship will lead to hypergrowth in the space industry. I think the future looks bright regardless of whether this whole thing happens slower or faster. At the latest, once SpaceX starts making billions with chip shipments of metal ores from the moon back to Earth, then we will see everybody jumping in. We will have rockets landing on and launching from the moon every week. So, to summarize, Starship promises a future that is beyond exciting, with booming space industries, colonies of humans and robots on the moon and Mars. But like every good thing, this may take time. It's not just about making it affordable to launch stuff into space. We have to think about who would want to launch what and why, and there are loads of other factors at play. Yet, to quote SpaceX, excitement is guaranteed. Even if the ride isn't as smooth as we'd like, it's definitely going to be one heck of a journey. Alright, thank you for joining me today. I hope you enjoyed this discussion. Please let me know your thoughts on this topic in the comments down below. And with that, I'll see you soon again. Have a nice day. Take care. Bye bye.